Donald Trump's vice presidential pick, JD Vance, made a pretty stunning admission in a new interview that was just released today. He went on this podcast called the Full Send Podcast. It's like this college frat guy, conservative podcast. Donald Trump has been on it. They have conservative figures all the time. You get the deal. So he went on this show, and he was talking about the call he received from Donald Trump when he was being offered the vice presidential nomination, and he bragged about telling his son, who was talking to him about Pokemon at the time, to shut up during this phone call. You know, this is a guy who frames himself as a big family man, a lover of his family. He loves his kids, loves his wife. And he's bragging about telling his kids to shut up. I don't know. It's very weird. I'm sure this is not the headline that Donald Trump wanted today. So I'll show you the clip. We'll talk about it a little bit. But man, is this weird.
So I'm like, oh no. So I call Trump. And I'm like, hey, sir, what's going on? He's like, JD, you missed a very important phone call. And now I'm going to have to pick somebody else. And I like tense up and almost have a heart attack. And the crazy thing about it is my son, who's 7, is in the hotel room with me. And he's really into Pokemon cards right now. He's going through a Pokemon phase. Are you guys into Pokemon?
I am. Back in the day.
Okay,
Yeah,
That's a big phase right now, I think, in general.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's really into it. So he's trying to talk to me about Pikachu. And I'm on the phone with Donald Trump, and I'm like, son, shut the hell up for 30 seconds about Pikachu. This is the most important phone call of my life. Please just let me take this phone call.
Yikes. Oh, God, that's not good. Shut the hell up. That's what he told his son. I mean, so as I mentioned before we watched the video, this is a guy who claims to be big on family, right? He's been in the news recently for critiquing other people's families, whether it be, single people who don't have kids yet or maybe not married, or liberals who are in marriages. He is, very vocal about his opposition to their families. Claims to be a big family man, but then is bragging about telling his son to shut up while on the phone with Donald Trump. To me, this reeks of desperation and a need for validation. Like, I genuinely believe that he said this, number one, for the validation from his fellow conservative hosts that were with him. They're all very Republican and they support Donald Trump. So I think he's saying that to hopefully get a laugh from them, and they didn't give it to him. So he kind of like awkwardly continued, and it didn't land the way he wanted it to, because it is a very strange statement to make. And so these people around him are just like, okay, move it along. Probably, a vice presidential nominee should probably not be bragging about telling his son to shut up when he's like on the campaign trail. But second of all, this reeks of desperation and validation that JD Vance wants from Donald Trump, right? Like, JD Vance's entire political career, in office at least, has been bowing down to Donald Trump, like, kissing the ring, demanding his attention, wanting his support nonstop. And even if it means advocating for really bad policy and things that would actually hurt the people of Ohio, the state he represents in the Senate, then he'll do it, as long as Donald Trump asks him to. If there's a good policy that might bring a factory to Ohio, but Donald Trump's like, you know what, I don't want to give Joe Biden a win or Kamala Harris a win, I think you should vote against this bill, JD Vance will do it. He does anything Donald Trump wants. And so he's on the phone, and he's talking to Donald Trump, and his own son is speaking to him. They're already engaging in a conversation about Pokemon or something. And he's like, can you shut the hell up? Really? I mean, really? I don't know. I don't know if that's something you should be telling your son. Really stellar parenting here, going on a podcast that's likely going to be seen by millions and bragging about how you told your son to shut the hell up. I mean, seriously, this is the Republican vice presidential pick. And of course, Donald Trump is the guy who supports JD Vance. They're kind of one and the same now. They have to defend each other's mistakes. And, Donald Trump owns this as well. This is on the Republican ticket. And I do find this really amusing that, just the hypocrisy of JD Vance, as we just kind of spoke about, the, big family man proclaims to be, and then he insults other people. Like recently, a resurfaced video of him from Fox News came up from a couple of years ago when he was running for the Senate, and he talked about miserable childless cat ladies. This clip went incredibly viral. I'm sure you've seen it, but let's take a look at it again, because it's just ironic that he wants to critique other people's families and then does this live on a podcast. Take a look.
But look, what I was basically saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it? I just wanted to ask that question.
So a lot of really awful things said there. Like there are plenty of, veterans, service members, firefighters, teachers who don't have kids, but they obviously have a stake in the United States in the future. They are literally serving the public. So a very kind of slap in the face comment from JD Vance toward a lot of people. But isn't that just ironic, right? He's saying that all of these childless cat ladies are miserable and they're running the country into the ground and they're not happy because they don't have kids. What a disgusting, really gross thing to say. But maybe those people would be better with kids than JD Vance. Maybe those people wouldn't tell their own kid to shut the hell up so they could talk to a convicted felon on the phone and gush over him and say, oh my God, thank you so much, Donald Trump, for giving me the vice presidential pick. I'm so honored. Maybe those people, those cat ladies that he apparently dislikes for some reason, would be better with the kids. Maybe JD Vance is not the guy for having a family in 2024 if he's bragging about this stuff, on a podcast. Not very family values, is it? And JD Vance also has another just very weird policy history. Like, these are just very weird comments to be making about your family, other people's families. But he also has a very weird policy history, like things he supports when it comes to families. Like he genuinely suggested that if you are childless, like you don't have any children, you should be taxed more than people with children. Not as like helping people with children, not trying to give them a tax break, but more so punishing people who don't have kids. Really, take a look at that clip as well.
I'll go back to something I said earlier about we need to reward the things that we think are good and punish the things that we think are bad. So you talk about tax policy. Let's tax the things that are bad and not tax the things that are good. If you're making $100,000, $400,000 a year, and you've got 3 kids, you should pay a different, lower tax rate than if you're making the same amount of money and you don't have any kids. It's that simple.
I totally agree.
So in JD Vance's America and Donald Trump's America, you will be punished if you don't have kids. Let's just say, you're a married couple or you're single and you decided, having kids is not for me. I don't want to deal with kids, which is perfectly fine. No problem. JD Vance and Donald Trump think that you should be punished for that. Yeah, this is the Republican ticket on their side, that you should be punished for not having kids. Now, what's interesting is there actually is a similar policy to this called the child tax credit, where people with kids receive credits from their taxes so they can better support their kids. But that's not a punishment on people who don't have kids. Their tax rates are not going up. They're not being taxed more. This is just a policy to help people who do have kids. And by the way, that same policy was voted down by Republicans in the Senate the other day. So they're not in favor of actually helping out parents or single mothers who might have kids with their taxes and giving them a little bit of credit, some breathing room, as Joe Biden would say. They're not interested in that. They're interested in actually punishing people who don't have kids. That's the Republican Party. So this all goes kind of full circle for me, just to say that it is so weird and strange in my view that JD Vance feels the need to try to punish people with their families and the way they want to live their lives. He will make fun of people for the way they want to live their lives. But then he who has kids is telling his kids to shut the hell up, and then he's bragging about doing that on a podcast for validation. That to me seems pretty strange. That to me seems like someone who is not fit to be vice president of the United States of America, and he's certainly not fit to be in any office anywhere. Just like the guy above him, Donald Trump, is also not fit to be president of the United States or in any office anywhere. So that's the Republican Party. That's their nominee. That's their guy. And I'm sure that the Trump campaign is going, oh my God, why on earth would he say that? Because now their whole family values argument is just out the window. Out the window. Anyway, I'll leave the video there. Just wanted to bring this to your attention. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe down below. We're so close to 100,000 subscribers, which is genuinely mind-blowing. I appreciate all of you guys so much. Also, make sure, of course, to drop a like and comment. Let me know what you think about all this. The mothers and fathers out there, let me know what you think about all this. And as I always say, I appreciate you being here, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.